was a very intelligent young man. And the other students kind of, made fun of him or bullied him, actually. And what they did was one Friday afternoon, this young man went to his locker. Now, mind you, he wasn't in vogue with the way he dressed with the rest of the students. Okay? They made fun of him. He was, in their eyes, a geek or a nerd. Okay? In their eyes. And so they kind of picked on him. But he was very, very intelligent. So one afternoon, they saw him go to his locker, pick up his books and all his belongings. He started walking out the school door. And they said, look at that. He's got all these books. He thinks he's going to do all this homework over the weekend, trying to show us up. So they went over. They pushed him down. And his books were thrown all over the place. And they got up and they left. But there was another young man, another young student, who witnessed all this. He went over and he helped that student, picked up his books, and he befriended him. 4 years later, the so-called nerd or geek was the valedictorian of his class. Part of his speech was, 4 years ago, it was a Friday afternoon, I went to my locker to clean it up because I was going home to kill myself. But I was befriended by someone who showed he cared. He was befriended by someone who cared. You know something? Have you ever thought about our children needing something to say yes to? They're often fearful. They're often confused. They really need inspiration. They need to experience new life, breathe into their souls. They need a soul infusion of something nobler, something finer, something higher than they're being bombarded with, the exponents of self-interest. They need a soul infusion of a different set of values than the ones they're receiving from the disciples of money and fad and fashion and power. If you don't have an iPad, if you don't have an iPhone, if you don't have the fashions of the day, you're not part of the in crowd. You're a geek. They need a soul infusion of genuine hope that has the Spirit of God as its source. And you know, they need the soul infusion of genuine joy that has the Spirit of God as its source. That young man who went over to help him, according to the so-called geek, was like an angel sent from God to save his life. He saved his life. We never know what influence one has on another person's life. Your moms and dads, if you want your children to grow up to love God and to trust in God, if you want your children to love you and believe in you, if you want your children to love themselves and believe in themselves, first you must communicate these feelings to them as your own. In the words of one loving father, when you tuck them into bed, be sure to tell them that you love them just for being themselves. Say to them, I'm really the luckiest father and mother in the world to have a child like you. I love you not because of your report card or your talent or because you're going to do a good job, but simply because you are you. And remember, if this sounds much too simple, it gets far better results than do the demands for obedience based on fear and intimidation. And the kids will go to sleep with a terrific feeling that, gosh, I really am loved for who I am. And that's the real healing for children. Much like the presence of the Holy Spirit in their lives. That young man who went over to help saw someone who was in dire need, was certainly inspired, came from a home of values, came from a religious background. He came from someone that really could see and focus on a message of love for others. What our children, what they need today, and I'm sure you're going to agree with me, is underexposure to the culture of commercial exploitation and violence, and overexposure to a community of love. In order to learn more about who they are to become, our children are really watching us. They're looking for role models. And what role models do they have today? They look on TV, and they see all of these fads, fashion, power, money, selfishness, and greed, really. They're looking for role models. And you, the parents and the godparents, are the best role models that you could be for your children. By the values that you want them to have nurtured in your life, if they see you living them, that will speak a big message for them. It's better than just trying to tell them, this is what you must do. And others, if you're living a different way, then it's not going to make an impression on those children. In the message for Pentecost, which is today, the church celebrates, Jesus says to all of us, as the Father sent me, so I am sending you. And Jesus said to his apostles, Jesus was not sending out timid and aimless men. The apostles were ready to receive the breath of the Spirit from Jesus. And you know, we hear that message so often when we go to church. And week after week. But are we really experiencing